So you want me to explain why?
Well, I would like to leave this place and answer a question.
Okay. Sit down. Mr. Hegede's question was a very honest question. Because I also see sometimes I'm mystified why so many people are coming. You know? I have only one explanation for it. Many years ago, when I was with Maheshwar and Babaji, wandering in the different parts of the country, mainly in the Himalayan region. One day, while he was explaining the Upanishads and things to me, I said to Babaji, why are you behaving as if I am going to give a class? Because my idea was to live with him happily alone, wander around the place, fresh air, good water from the Ganga. Good when you are hungry, it's a need, but it's not so bad. So why this? Knowledge is one thing, you need knowledge sometimes. But it was more than that. He was trying to get me exposed to Vaishnavism, Shaivism, Sufis, Christian teachings, Upanishads, Vedanta in all its forms. I asked him why this complicated, why do you want to go about it? So he said, after some years, people will come from various backgrounds. You will see people who come with marks like this, and that's exactly how he said, or marks like this, or marks like this, and no marks at all. You will have to talk to them in their own terms. Then they will understand. So at some point, you will have to relate to a number of people. I said, but why do you want to make my life so complicated? He said, I thought that you've been with me all these years, you've become unselfish. It looks like you've become more selfish. You have to share what you have with others. So now, when I see people coming, look, I don't have anything much except my nose is a little long beyond that. So when I see, I know that it is the prediction of Sri Guru Babaji and that I have a role to play. But the second is, if I have touched something with sadhaks at some stage of their life, touched, if I have, when that sacred thing, which is in all of us actually, revealed or not revealed, when that is touched, there is a certain attraction that people feel. They feel peaceful, they feel satisfied, they feel even without asking that their questions are answered. Various things happen. So I think if you sit with me, maybe you feel that there is some kind of an internal satisfaction coming. Even when you are not dealing with a question-answer session. Possible. These are some of the reasons that I find when people come to me. It could be any one of these, or a mixture. When there is a fragrance coming from somewhere, whoever gets the fragrance likes to find out the source. Where is it coming from? This nondescript man having something which gives fragrance. So, I think that's what it is. And I have many times felt that people come, in this round of daily life, you are beaten about so much here and there, this tumultuous existence, that you feel battered and kind of broken. Then you come and there is some fellow sitting there on the rock. When I say rock, because some of you might have come to People Grow School and had a retreat. There's a nice rock up there. And he's just talking to you about various things, about the trees, about the birds. And you feel, now I'm feeling a little bit relaxed and quiet my mind. So is it possible that there is something happening? That could be one of the reasons. By it. Can you show me your face?
Sir, my name is Dilip. I'm coming for the first time in your group. I'm a follower of Ramakrishna Ashram. And a couple of years, my teacher has been done by you from Atman Thanan.
Oh, who?
Atman Thanan.
Okay.
So I was reading your autobiography and I feel like you had Mantra Diksha from Babaji. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. And then Mahendranath Ji is your Swamiji. So I'm getting confused, like how one can have multiple gurus or have Diksha from multiple gurus. And फिर हम लोगों ने कैसे कर रहे हैं सभी गुरु के साथ एक श्रृंखला रह सकती है या रहनी चाहिए?
I did not have multiple gurus, I had only one. Mahesh or Nath Babaji was my guru. However, in this journey of life, spiritual journey, on the advice and consulting Sri Guru Baba, Mahesh or Nath Babaji, where it was required for me to experience a certain different way of spiritual practice, I was advised to go and take it. In the Ramakrishna mission also I have taken mantra from Swami Tapasyananda. But that all that happened only after I established complete connection with Maheshwara. So it was based on his instructions. But if you ask me, Guru, Maheshwara Babaji is my Guru. The others who have helped me in this path, I have great respect for them. In sadhana, you can have any number of Upa-Gurus. There is no harm in that. And it is to the credit of Sri Guru Baba, Maheshwarnath Babaji, that he had no competition about gurus. He never said, you don't go there, because he had no fear that somebody will run away. He had very few disciples anyway, and if I also run away, I thought he would be happy. So he had that problem of gathering disciples was not there. Signing their names, having a register. Right? So I grew up like that. So when people come to me, I tell them, first be with me for some time and see if I am not your cup of tea. I may be the right guru and you may not be the right student for that. Who knows? Or I may be the wrong type for you. There is no harm in finding somebody. But all I say is you have to be careful nowadays. Because that has also become business. Right? So one has to be a little bit careful. In the sense that you have to be with somebody for some time and see that person under all circumstances before you decide to pitch it. Because very easy for 5-10 minutes, half an hour, 1 hour for me to pretend to be a nice man and so on. How am I otherwise? And in my case there is an advantage. I am married. Ask my wife. I know everything. So that's how it is. And Swami Atmasthananda, for your information, was the Assistant General Secretary of the Ramakrishna Mission when I was a brahmachari in the training center, which Babaji told me to go.
Your Swami, you advise you everybody who is in Abhavastra don't assume like they are real sons. We have to be careful.
Well, I am also very
Thank you.
Can you hear me there at the back? Doctor Saab, Sunai? Yes. I want this young man to ask because he has been following me around for the last 5-6 days. And incidentally, when you bowed down today, two coins, 2 rupee coins fell from your pocket. I didn't have the heart to give it back to you, so I put it in my pocket. I'll give it to you. Can we consider that it is here with me or shall I? So please ask.
My question is, whenever I read biography of any great person, maybe it's your autobiography or autobiography of a yogi, gurus have always predicted what's going to happen in their life to a minute detail.
What?
Gurus of great people have always predicted what is going to happen in their life for a minute detail.
Not always. Anyway.
For example, recently I read one chapter in autobiography of Yogi where Sri Yukteswar told
One
yoga.
second, can I interrupt? Please do not hold me responsible for what others have written. In my book, you ask everyone.
No, it's just an example. So, after many years you will go to America and so thing happen. So my question is everything in life predetermined that people can predict? And if that is the case, then where is the scope for karma? Because everything is predetermined.
Shall I tell you something? This is the 100th time that the 100th person has asked this question. All I want to tell you is that it is not an original question. So, let me try to explain it as best as I can. It's like this. And you're talking about spiritually evolved beings being able to say. That they are able to say does not mean that they are controlling. Understand this? Okay? That they see the possibilities that this could happen. There are many cases where it does not happen also. Point one. Point two is there are certain things which are not under our control. There are. These can be predicted. Like, actually nobody can predict. No one knows in which family we are born. We have no control. Which parents are going to do, we have no control. We didn't ask anybody to do. We don't. Then we have no control over the genes with which we are born. Have we? We are 1 million years of 2 million or so years of genetic evolution has resulted in us sitting here. Do we have any control over it? No. The thunder showers, lightning, storms, the magnetic flares of the sun, floods, do we have any control? No. Do we have any control over how we eat and how we digest? We only put food in our mouth and chew. Beyond that, do we digest the food or is there something that digests it and throws the waste out? Does our heart pump when we say pump and stop when we say stop? Does it? Does the blood circulation, does it go according to our control? No. Do we breathe voluntarily when we are born by saying breathe? And can we stop breathing when we want? You stop breathing, you can, but you die. Can we stop the earth from going around? No. So there are a large number of things we have no control over, although we like to think that we have control. Given that, we are also born with a certain brain and certain situations to choose from. if there was no capacity to choose from situations, the whole theory of karma would be bunkum. Right? Yes or no? Yes. So therefore I am saying that given the circumstances which are not under our control, there are a certain set of circumstances which are under our control where we can exercise our choice. Because we are given a brain, otherwise there was no need of a brain. You see, the human being has a developed brain, so they say. And the animal has also a brain, but it is not so developed since the frontal lobes are not so good as human beings. I think largely that's what makes the difference. Now, animals have been tuned to perform certain actions at certain times. Like there is a season when they will reproduce. Human beings have no season. Unfortunately, that's why the family planning is such a big problem. Any time is good time. Right? So there is some discrimination that is between us to choose, to process, and depending on that our life progresses. But those elements which we cannot control, we can do it. Very often life is a mixture of both. Very often. Now, from that, a yogi who is developed, who can lead the system properly, will be able to a great extent, 90% or 80% to kind of predict which way it is. That's about it. Can go wrong here. But when a yogi sees a person who's completely dedicated to finding the truth, find the goal, then he might guide him in such a way that if it is not possible for him to reach the goal at this time, he might be able to extend it to the next. Unfortunately, when we think only of this way. This birth to this death, or a dismal existence, just imagine. That's all. Then we are gone. But there is much before. There is much to come. This is my understanding, please. So a yogi may be able to predict the general graph. There may be some difference. Sir, you want to ask me what your plan is? Can I drop a point? I think at some point or the other, seeing you now for some days, I feel that you will be able to move forward. That's my guess. Not guess. That's my study. You may not try to be a prime minister like the other Rahul. But there is much greater things in life than being prime minister.
Can you explain satisfaction to us?
Satisfaction?
Can you explain what is satisfaction?
What do you think is satisfaction? No.
Having sort of mixed feelings. I feel that is the ultimate goal in life, which a normal person like us should obtain.
This is a very good point. Very good point. You see, what you don't mind if I cross my legs. You can cross yours if you like. Find more comfortable. It's like this. Every human being, why every living being, but more so human beings, whether they are spiritual or not spiritual, whether they are theists or atheists, whether they were red or they were ochre, all of them have one common goal. This is seeking happiness and satisfaction. This is the goal of all human beings. If you are going towards something, if you don't get happiness and satisfaction, you will reject it and move towards something else. Right? This is our goal, every human being's goal. Now we are saying we need people who are not normal. We are saying that this search for complete satisfaction, complete happiness, you can see for yourself, is not attainable in this world, whatever you need. You might think this will satisfy me after a few days or a few weeks or a few months or 1 or 2 years. You will find that it is not satisfying. You will go to something else. And when nothing satisfies you, not you, we, us, then we try to take the help of chemicals which can give us some satisfaction. So what do? We open our car bar. Means the bar behind the car. Nobody will see. And then that's satisfaction. Their satisfaction is because then everything is numbed. And being numbed, we don't feel any dissatisfaction. This is common. Now, a great saint by name Kabir Das said that this search for happiness of all human beings, actually the search is legitimate because all sane human beings will search for happiness and satisfaction. But you don't find it 100% anywhere outside till we rest finally. After that we don't know what happens. He said, the search is fine, but it is in the wrong direction. It's in the wrong direction. The direction in which we are searching is not. He said, search for it in the reverse direction. Go back from where you came. He also gave this beautiful story of the Kasturi deer, Kasturi Mriga. Find them in Uttarashi, Hare Himalayas. It has a small pouch under its tail where in a certain season musk is secreted. Kasturi. And when that fragrance comes, beautiful fragrance, the poor deer, not knowing where the source of this is, goes searching for it everywhere. Sorry, I'm not telling this. Goes searching for it everywhere, thinking that's coming from there or coming from here, till its snoot bleeds, till it pokes its head into thorns. Kabir Das said that is the situation of us human beings. When that is there inside us, in the form of a small part, a sense of our true consciousness, by its very nature, independent of anything, is complete satisfaction and happiness. Not a mentally produced self. When this is found, then one gets true satisfaction. So what happens normally is human beings not wanting to turn inward go through many things, hoping that they would be happy and satisfied. And then when they are finally battered, they turn. Then it's a little late, but it doesn't matter. Better late than never. Which is why the first chapter of the Gita, it has 18 chapters. The first, each chapter is called a yoga, which means an approach. Yoga. The first chapter is called Arjuna Vishada Yoga. Yoga of Arjuna's dissatisfaction, sorrow, confusion, indecisiveness. When that becomes serious, then we start how to get out of this. So sometimes sorrows and pains are a blessing. Otherwise we'll be always with a lollipop. Never throw it off. I know it's hard to bear, but when it is hard to bear, you want to really get rid of it.
There are times in our life when we have choices to make, and one choice may lead to a different destiny, and another may lead to a different destiny. And so, what exactly, as you know, there was a certain relevance in the question. Destiny, is it predetermined, or I am always given a choice, and I feel that this choice may be better than the other, and then later on I end up, understanding that I should have taken some other
That
path.
is not because of this, because of wrong choice. So, one must see, look, that's what I was telling. There is nothing that you will choose in this world, whatever the situation, which is going to give you complete 100% satisfaction. There is nothing like that.
Yeah.
So you have to choose that which is the best, in the sense that there may be some shortcomings in future when you look, but that is the risk. One cannot blame that on this.
That is agreed, sir. However, there are certain paths which are actually difficult, but that turns out to be a boon because we have learned something from
So
them.
therefore take a lesson that something that appears difficult may be better. Because we seek the easy way out. No? So,
Thanks.
When you're meditating in the Himalayas,
Yeah,
in
yeah.
your previous life,
yeah, oh,
Okay.
yeah.
and a seeker came to you, a spiritual guide, and he lost your temper and said you way, which led to your birth in this life. Now, if a person like this meditating in the Himalayas, what hope is there for us?
That is true. So please don't lose hope. You see, anger and desire for name and fame. These are the three things which are so deep rooted, they go the last. I think at that time I had handled most of these things, and I thought that I had also taken care of anger. When I was meditating there, I was not a soul who had attained mukti. Please understand this. The person who has done that has not such problem. I was still a sadhak. I might have been an advanced sadhak, but I was still a sadhak. Now, therefore, I did lose my temper. It was partly because of the ego. See, it's very difficult to root it out. And when Babaji cast me out, I think it was a blessing because then I learned. And Babaji, please don't lose hope. That you are not sitting in the Himalayas doesn't mean that you are less than anybody else. Understand this? This is one of the reasons why Babaji said, go out, and he used to always tell me, to sit inside a cave and Mysore Babaji, my personal. If you sit in a cave and meditate for 13 years, or 13 hours a day, and say that I am free of anger, I am free of jealousy, I am free. In the cave there is nothing to be angry with, there is nothing to be jealous. It's only when you get out of the cave, you get into the bus from Rishikesh to go to Haridwar. If somebody kicks you on your leg in the bus, especially with a stiletto heel, then you know if you really have control, you are not. So it is best, actually your situation is best. You don't have to go to the Himalayas. This is the testing place for these emotions.
But are there any practices that you can
Now this is a vast subject. This is a very, very vast subject. But since you have asked me, we can go into it a bit. There are many techniques and ways by which you can control your anger on the surface. Like one of the best techniques is what is used by the air hostesses in the aeroplane. Smile. Comes and goes in a minute. It opens, stuck, it's closed. But by constantly smiling, the muscles which smile give a message to the brain that you are happy. So the brain also behaves like that for some time. So these are all surface methods. Some people say when you're angry, stop, don't say anything. Keep quiet when you see it coming. Drink a glass of water and come back. These are all surface things. Try not to get angry by diverting your mind. But these are all temporary measures. Now deep down, anger is something that comes because of desire. Desire for what? Suppose I desire for something. The Gita explains it very easily. Suppose there is a particular sloka in the Gita that says, Yayato Vishayan Punsaha Sangasteshu Pajanite Sangatsam Jayate Kama Kamat Krodo Vijayate Krodat Bhavati Sammoha Sammoha Smriti Vibhrama Smriti Bhramsha Buddhi Nasho Buddhi Nasho Pranasya. Begins with what? When our sense organs are all surrounded by objects of desire, we develop a pull. There is nothing you may not happen. You're surrounded day in and day out. So mind moves towards it. So we desire something. Now if something or someone comes in between my desire to acquire it, then anger. It could also be not a physical object but an image. I want to create an image that I am so and so or somewhere. Now somebody points it out. No. Then the desire to build the image is broken. So there is a thorough agitation, anger. So this is the reason why anger. Root cause. So while we have methods of looking at it and trying to keep it under control, the root of anger will go only when the human being attains complete satisfaction of all his desires without depending on anything outside and is at peace with himself or herself. Then the root of anger is destroyed. So there is nothing to be angry. So, in this case, I had not reached that place. You can trust assured. And maybe a yogi sitting in the Himalayas, but I hadn't gone that far that I had snuffed out. Attained, which the Upanishads called, which when attained, nothing more remains to be attained. But it's pleasant and nice to get rid of anger, even outwardly. For that, the thing is keep reminding yourself what terrible things you do when you are angry. And say that it is not going to help me in any way. But in this day-to-day life, sometimes you can pretend to be angry because something don't work. I have a senior police lady who's been coming and seeing me for many years. And so the other day she came and said, "Sir, I'm finding it very difficult to control these fellows, police." But suppose this is a woman, she's a senior officer. All these fellows, you know how they are. She said, "I'm finding it very difficult to control them because they have discovered that I don't get angry." So sometimes I told her, you have to pretend to be angry, but don't hiss, but don't bite. I mean, this is a practical.
I have a chronic illness. I have a chronic illness. I have a liver and pancreas problem. The liver is very damaged. I have been advised to change the liver.
Change the
Liver transplant. Now I am holding on it because the risks are too much. Now I have been not working for last 4 years. I have been not traveling. And I have lost a lot of weight and energy to and enthusiasm. After meeting you, there has been some kind of obsession with your presence.
What happened this week? I was not at all well. Today also I have a jaundice because of the traveling. I am not able to.
Where do you live?
I live in Thane.
Thane. Yeah, I know.
So on Monday, out of the blue, I got that little email from Nasik saying that you are going to be Mumbai and Pune and Nasik right for a week. I literally got the news that I would get to meet you in Lonavala, Pune, and it period in Nasik. But still, what madness got me, I don't know. I took the driver. First time in my life, I traveled to Shirdi alone. I chased you in Sapuri.
You didn't see me?
No, because I had come in the morning, your program banner said that it was in 6 o'clock. So I went to all the mandirs and asked, and I got to know that it's going to be 6 o'clock and nobody is aware. I think you were in Ahmednagar that time. Then I came back and I was bad, so I was traveling to a toll. Still I am again here today, I am pretty bad. So please explain this, and do I need to control this madness?
Sorry, I shouldn't be laughing.
No, I am.
Sir, I think you should control it. Because you don't have to see me all the time.
I know, you are there with me all the time. I know that logically. It is never worked with me. Ask us, we are the ones. My wife, she knows. I have not gone to my clinic, I am a dentist for a long time. But I do this mischief.
No, I cannot tell you not to come to see me.
No, I wouldn't.
And I think you should also take care of your health.
Yeah, I am taking that.
Little bit. Take proper medical advice.
So I have been very, very cautious with the health. That is why I could.
Did I advise you to chant? Yes. Do that chanting. Take proper medical advice. You don't have to run around to see me like that. It's not good for your body. Please rest.
No, I was.
Probably you get a release of energy when you see me in your heart. That could be the reason why you are running around. But I suggest that don't take so much risk.
I cannot travel all over India to meet you. So anybody
No,
wants
no,
to
don't.
dance, I get desperate. Because this is something I
I
can
really
reach.
don't know what to tell you. I see, I'm honestly telling you with feeling that I really don't know what to tell you. What shall I do? You tell me. I can't live in Mumbai. 3 days in Mumbai, my eyes smoke, I get into all that. I have a suggestion. Since you said you are not practicing for some time, if you like, you can come and spend a few days in Madanapalli. So you can go and see me. When I am there. Because I am wandering worse than you. I don't know what I am chasing. I am running around. So when I am in Madanapalli, please come and spend some time. Not during 1-2-1s, it will be very heavy rush. Then you can go for a walk. Perhaps you will be better. I don't know.
Simple living.
We can't hear the questions out.
Sir, this also I have explained so many times. I am kind of tired of answering this question. Why are we here? But the thing is, since we are here, shouldn't we do something about it? No? And probably we can never find out why we are here until we do that little something. We can have theories. We can say, oh, some theory and all that. We came from the Supreme, we are going back to the Supreme. It will only be theory, right? But since we are here, and since we are in trouble and in sorrow, isn't it first necessary to find a way out of it? Isn't that more practical? You are a practical man. So isn't that, I told you last time also, the story that the Buddha said. I don't know if you remember. Buddha said, really illustrates the point. He said, if somebody shoots an arrow at you when you are in a garden, there is pain, and there is possibility of getting poisoned and gangrene. What do you do first to get rid of that arrow? What do you do first to get rid of that pain? Do you lie down there and ask who sent this arrow? Where did it come from? Why has it come only to me and so on? Or will you find some ways and means to pull the arrow out first before it became gangrenous and one is dead and one cannot find out the source? Perhaps if you learn how to remove the arrow, then it is possible that you will learn to figure out where it has come from and why it has come from. Because then the mind can keep saying, or rather, you would have reached a point where the mind has expanded enough to understand these mysteries. Till then, it is difficult to understand. But the truth remains that we are in trouble. So find ways and means to get out of it. And all the great teachers come, they have said there is some way to get out. I think we should concentrate on that. So whatever I say will be theory.
During meditation, suddenly Vasrika happens.
Sir?
Vasrika starts.
Vastrika.
Which is uncontrolled.
Have you ever done Vastrika deliberately?
Not deliberate.
No. Okay.
So why does it happen?
Really it happens?
Yeah.
Every day? And for how long?
Sometimes 15 minutes, 20 minutes.
Do you have any other feeling when you do the when that Vastrika happens? Is there any, do you enjoy it or do you not?
I'm enjoying it.
Good. Right. So therefore it's a good sign. In deep meditation sometimes when the energies begin to concentrate on certain places, it doesn't happen to all. But to some, that Shakti Chalan brings about some changes like Vastrika. Some people work. It depends on one's constitution. So there is nothing wrong with that. In fact, people deliberately do Vastrika to induce a trance. So if it is happening automatically and if you are enjoying it and you don't have pain because of that, I think it is a good thing. I feel that it's an expression of the movement of certain energies in your system. But I can also tell you that if it is really and seriously happening, then after a while it will calm down by itself. You will begin to enjoy without that.
So I would like you to explain the concept of Shraddha, because Shraddha, as I have heard, many people convert it into confidence. Confidence. Someone says it's faith. If you read Adi Sankaracharya, this Vivek Chudamani, he says Astikya Buddhi.
This what is
Astikya Buddhi.
Which one?
Positive attitude. Positive attitude. In Bhagavad Gita, you have again described 3 types of attitude. Rajasic, Tamasic and Sattvic. Shraddha. So what is the exact definition of Shraddha? In Buddhism also, Buddha has taught about Shraddha, Shila, Kaga and Panna. On Shraddha, I have this question. And the second question is related to Panna, this wisdom. How does this wisdom arises? Where does it arises from? Also, Guru Nanak Dev Ji has taught about that this lamp of wisdom will start burning in you. And then you won't need to find answers and when. So, these 2 questions.
So we are going from Shraddha to Shankara
Shraddha only and Panna. These 2
and
questions.
to Buddha. So the word Shraddha, generally it refers to, in the common balance, if you say somebody has faith, Shraddha. Now, Shraddha can also be defined as faith, and there is nothing wrong with that. Because faith is not something terrible. When people think that if you have faith, you will be cut out from the roles of being civilized and intelligent. No? How can I have faith? I am an educated man. Faith is blind. Blind faith. All faith is blind. There is no unblind faith. So, there is nothing wrong with faith. It is not a disqualification, first. Why? Because faith means there are so many things on this earth that we do not know about. Now, if you have to really find it out, we have to have a hypothesis. If you have to prove a theorem, you need a hypothesis. Now, if the hypothesis is negative, then there is no question of proving it. The hypothesis has to be positive. Then you work towards proving it. When you have proved it, then you say, okay, now it's right. So, if this Shraddha, defined as faith, can be used like that as a tool to discover the truth, then that is called faith. Because that happens when the human being suddenly discovers that he is so limited, and that even if he has all the intellectual knowledge in the world, he cannot solve certain problems. He is helpless. If he is helpless, he says, perhaps there is something beyond. This little whispering that starts is called faith. Starts with that. That is when you interpret it as faith. The other meaning of Shraddha is complete one-pointed attention to the exclusion of everything else. Now, if this and this can go together, it will be a wonderful way to pursue the journey. Okay. So, there is a reason for faith. The reason is that we cannot always know about everything. So therefore we have to go with a certain understanding that perhaps it is there. It is beyond our little brain to understand. When we begin to understand, it comes with a certain amount of humility that one cannot solve everything with the brain. That is called faith. Plus one-pointed attention. Complete attention. Suppose you are a great painter, or a great scientist, or a great connoisseur of music. You don't need any coercion or any effort to be one-pointed. You listen to a song. You're completely absorbed. Depends on what you are like. You're completely absorbed. There's no need of saying out. That is also Shraddha. That attention that draws you with no effort whatsoever on your part. Okay. Now when this happens, then something which we are not aware of under normal circumstances reveals itself. That is the beginning of wisdom. Wisdom is not intellect. We have to distinguish between intellect and wisdom. Wisdom is that which comes through personal, immediate anubhava. While knowledge is that which is built up through studying, memorizing. So therefore, that wisdom is also called Shruti, because it is not as opposed to Smriti, which means that which can be remembered, thought about, discussed. Shruti means that which is heard as pure. In music you have Shruti. If the Shruti goes, whatever you sing is nonsense. Right? You may even, words may be nice, but there is no Shruti sense. Shruti. So, therefore that is wisdom. Wisdom is not knowledge. Ishavasya Upanishad. Wisdom. Ishavasya, it's not even Jnana. Ishavasya Upanishad in one place has a sloka which is quite mystifying in a way. It says, those who worship ignorance, avidya, enter into darkness. Andam. Those who worship knowledge, vidyayam upasa, those who worship knowledge enter into greater darkness. Very interesting statement. Those who worship ignorance enter into darkness. That we all understand. We immediately sit up and share because we think we have knowledge. Ah, yes, it's ignorance. We enter. Then comes the shocker. Those who worship knowledge enter into greater darkness. Now there are many reasons this is connected to what you said, because wisdom. Now this is interesting because there are 2 points here. One is the person who decides for himself that he has all the knowledge in the world, that he is wise, enters into darkness, complete darkness. Because ego is a first class symbol of darkness. The other is actually very, very real and serious. What do we mean when we say I have knowledge of something? What do we mean? I did not know about something. Then I started to learn about it. Now I have learned about it and I know it. Which means I have understood something and I have stored it in my memory and I can recall it whenever I want. This is the meaning. Any knowledge, including so-called scriptural knowledge. I didn't know before. Now I have understood. Understood means I have stored it in my memory and I can pull it out at any time I want and present it before my mind. So this is called knowledge. So I have a knowledge of this, I have knowledge. Now by definition, the supreme truth. Now, can you think of any memory which is not belonging to the past? Any memory. The very word memory means past. Cannot be a present, there is no memory. Now, in its true essence, the supreme truth, all-pervading supreme truth, which is referred to as Isha Vasyamigam Sarva, is always in the present. It can never be in the past. Therefore, it cannot be a memory. Therefore, it cannot be knowledge. I don't know if you're trying to understand. I hope you, am I talking nonsense or?
No, I'm getting the answer.
So, therefore, that truth cannot be put into any form of knowledge. Therefore, when somebody says, I know this, therefore I know the truth, he is talking about his memory, not the truth. Truth doesn't stay like a memory, it's all the time like the flowing rivers. This is no end. And sorry.
No, you were explaining about the present. The present which is there, that is the truth.
There is no memory there, and therefore it is not knowledge. It's not something stored, and then, see, if you have a knowledge which you're storing, maybe at some point you forget it, right? Because the memory is not coming back. Can truth be forgotten? It's here.
So the wisdom is in the current.
Exactly. Roughly, not it. Because words cannot fully express what we are trying to express. Upanishad itself says, yes, vachana amritam, that which words cannot explain. Can be sometimes understood through love. We don't know how love operates. Even ordinary love we don't know. Ordinary. You know, the rich children from a rich background, they fall in love with somebody, they are ready to run away, leaving everything, even physical. I mean, ordinary love which we all know of, they are ready to jump into the well. What? We don't know, it's an irresistible power, and it's a small percentage of that, that's it. For hours they stand together in the bus stand looking at each other, not talking a word, what goes between? कुछ कुछ होता है मगर क्या होता है? So this is, you can think of this as about 1,000 million times more than that. So how do we put it? We are all full of faith. I also cannot. You can only say it's like this, not like this, not like this.
I'm very curious to know, are there female gurus in Himalaya? Do females wander?
Is the gender bias or not?
The problem, sorry, sir. Yeah. I have to go. See, what you must understand is that it is not because of any deliberate gender bias that we don't find so many yogis who are women. It's not because of that. See, women's role since ancient times has been a little different. Now it has changed. Now we should have more yogis. In the early times, the roles were considered different. When the man went off into the Himalayas, they looked after the house. They looked at, which is nothing less than that fellow going up there. It's as important. So because of that, and because of the fact that women, even today, in this so-called modern society, cannot wander around alone. You tell me? You see all those things in the newspapers. And nobody does that to a man. These are facts, these are realities. Because women have been made in a different way than men. So that is why traditionally you find less number of people. That doesn't mean there aren't. Please understand. In my own life, I have met my mom in Kanyakumari. I think she can be compared to any great being that I have seen. She was an Avaduta. According to the Nath Sampradaya, an Avaduta is one who has found the truth and therefore need not follow any norms of society. Because there are pretenders who claim to be Avadutas, so they can do whatever. That's not what I'm talking about. So, she was there, my mom. Then, I have personally met highly advanced, apart from my mom. I have referred to her as Sri Guru Babaji's sister. But he has no sister because he is not a biological being. It means someone like him. Okay. Now, in ancient times, you see Gargi, the great Rishi Gargi, who in a discussion says to Yajnavalkya, the great Rishi, if you don't answer this question, your head will fall off. But the number is less because of these reasons, other reasons. And please understand that because they didn't wander around the Himalayas, there have been great saintly women in this country. Great many. Not that they were not there, that's why they were in their houses and they were great. So that now that the roles have slightly changed, I think it's time for women to go to the Himalayas. No, see, you can. Now it's possible. It was not possible some time back. I am very much for it. Yeah, man.
One question before your answer.
Say that loudly. Yeah,
I have one question which might have answered already. It's about the guru-disciple relationship.
Guru,
Disciple relationship.
disciple relationship.
So, I mean, your story was that it was more a one-to-one kind of relationship.
Right.
If you look here, it might be a little bit of all the people that
One second,
all
can
men.
I interrupt? This is nothing. There are people who have 12,000 people sitting around. They don't speak a word. I wish I could. So,
No, so
Ah.
there are two questions. One is, the first part is your side, let's say, how difficult it is for you to deal with this sport.
hmm.
And the second one, for me, important is how should we learn our role as this disciples. Because of course we all said we should
I know, I
this
know.
one-to-one
I understand.
how can we share this with the
I'm looking at your wife. She didn't say anything. So, so we have to look at it this way. This is the last question. Because you're showing the hand. Already said. If you feel at some point that I am a little different, like I'm not normal, and I perhaps understand minds a little deeper than from the surface. Believe me that at the moment, those who really need to have personal attention, I think are necessary to have, will get personal attention. Which doesn't mean that those who do not get personal contact on many days or many years basis are less than the others, or that they cannot move forward in this way. It's not like that. However, if and when there is a need for instance, for you to spend 2 months with me in some cave in Himalayas, I will get you to do it. Have no doubt. But it may not be necessary, right? You may think it is necessary, but it may not be necessary. Plus, all that you need to have done, I have done. And I have the lessons now. So you don't have to go into all that trouble. It makes it easier. So it's like that. So have no worry about that. If you need personal, if I feel that you need personal attention, I shall surely give it to you. At least you must give me credit, that much credit, that I have the capacity to. That's all. That much you have to be kind. Last question. This will go on. Sir, last. See, it's like this. Different people come to this in different ways, at a different stages of life. There is no hard and fast rule about it. Some people you see, suddenly they are very materialistic and they are living their life. Suddenly you find one day they have dumped everything and they say, no, I want to do. Something has happened which has made them change their minds. There is no standard procedure for that. That at such a day or in this situation I have to become. The moment it occurs to you seriously, due to any cause, that this life is okay, but it's not really so good, and there is something which I have to seek, which is grander and greater and better than this life. Any moment it occurs, that time is the best. You can be married, you can be, of course if you are unmarried it's easier. No, not because there is anything wrong, because there are two people involved in the decision. You may want to go, somebody doesn't want to, then you have taken the responsibility. So if you are young and you want to do it, it's the right time to take the step. Because then even after some years, if you want to get into the family life, you would have applied oil before opening the jackfruit. Nothing will stick. Sri Ramakrishna Paramahamsa used to say, apply oil before you open the jackfruit. You can still do your work and still won't stick to you. Start somewhere. If you fail in between, you shouldn't get discouraged. Start again. Because this is a very serious affair. It's not a joke, it's not a fashion, it's not a fad, it's a very serious. Like, you seriously want to make money, what will you not do? If that much of interest is there, then it's possible. So let's stop. Thank you very much. Om Shanti Shanti. It was better than having a talk on this.
But we had lots of questions for you.
Why are you not asking? He always says the same.
Sir, can I get the details?
लोगों के आई थिंक कुछ लोगों के साथ